Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Pursuit Live. This episode is brought to you by Killshot Coffee Company. Use code PL15. That's PL15 to save 15% on your next purchase from Killshot Coffee. I'm your producer, Chris. Joining me, as always, is the creator and my faithful co-host, Mr. Dave Hawkins.
What's up, killers? What's going on? Happy Friday night. We're back. We had to take last week off, unfortunately.
We're back. We're better than ever, and we've got another great guest to talk to tonight. I don't even really know how to introduce you, Shayne, so I'm just going to say we got Shayne Burke in the studio. Shayne, thank you for joining.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
So I guess we should preface this a little bit, right? I mean, this could get a little, we don't like to put a rating on our show, but this is going to be a real story. This is a real story of a real encounter. And I don't want to ruin the surprise just yet, but stay tuned. So I'll put it that way.
It's always real. Yeah. We keep it real.
That's right. Keep it real, like the kids say, right?
They used to say that. They're saying some weird shit now, but
yeah, we haven't learned that vocabulary yet.
Yeah.
For better or worse.
So anyway, I guess let's dive right into it. And for anybody that doesn't know you, Shayne, why don't you just take a minute and just kind of introduce yourself to everybody?
Yeah. So my name's Shayne Burke. I hail from Western Massachusetts, small town named Granby. My dad was raised there. I was raised there. Joined the Army right out of high school, did a deployment to Iraq pretty much right after I got out of AIT. And then my Army career kind of slowed down quite a bit. Got really into rock climbing, did that for almost 18 years now, somewhere between there. 2020 really messed things up for everybody, so it's hard to count those days. Used to hunt with my father back in the day quite a bit. I cherish those days quite a bit. Lost him in 2020. And so currently I'm trying to harvest a whitetail with his old Remington 1100 smooth bore. It's not easy. And his 2009 Darton bow. That's also
nice,
ancient. And if it breaks, my bow tech says he can't help me. I'll have to buy a new one, which is okay. But I want to get a deer with each of those and then retire them. But they mean a lot to me. As far as hunting goes, I've harvested one hen turkey back in 2020, right after my father passed away, and that was pretty fulfilling for me. And then I got a beautiful whitetail deer, a buck, right before, I think that was 2021 or maybe 2020. I can't remember. Anyway, that was not done the conventional way, and we can get into that for sure. But essentially, that I was scouting for hunting season, and that buck had fallen off a cliff, and I called the EPOs, and they told me to dispatch it, and they'll get me a salvage tag. All I had on me was my Glock 43, so I put 2 in the chest, harvested him, we ate him. Great, it was a really crazy experience. Had a pretty crazy drag out with that. It was a mile into the woods, and my friend, who was a California hotshot, came out and helped me drag him out. And I don't know if I could have done that without him, man. That was a hard haul. So, and I went to Poland right after that, deployed to Poland, and then Ukraine got invaded. We were there supporting Ukraine, and then Russia invaded, and that got a little hairy for a minute. And then we pulled everybody out of Ukraine. I came home, found out I had a brain tumor. That set me back quite a bit. Had that taken out, married my best friend, and we went on our honeymoon. And that's where the story begins that we're talking about tonight.
Wow, we kind of covered a little bit of everything right there.
Yeah,
that was a great story. Thanks for joining, everybody. I guess we'll sign off now.
Yeah, we could end it right there.
Well, we didn't even get into the details, but yeah.
No, I know.
37 years old, lover of nature, conservationist, I'm still in the Army Reserves, and I work for the Army as a civilian. I started as a diesel tech. Now I'm just a electronics technician because it's way more money and way easier on the body. So,
Well, as a fellow veteran, I want to take the opportunity and say thank you for your service.
hey, cheers, bro. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. So along that journey, some way, and somehow you picked up a lot of like outdoor, right? You picked that up as a passion, it seems.
Yeah, definitely. My dad taught me how to just be connected to nature. Every time if we caught an animal and like we wanted to bring it home, he'd be like, "Well, if it dies, you're gonna have to eat it." And so we like would never take them. I remember like catching a garter snake once, and he's like, "If it dies, you're gonna have to eat it because I don't want you taking anything out of the woods that." And so we let it be in nature because I didn't want to eat a snake. But yeah, so definitely love nature. I finally, I just bought a house in the woods, which is nice. Not really in the woods, but right in the middle of Quabbin area, if you've ever heard of it, in Western Mass. So it's a beautiful place. But
Well, I guess I do. I got a question before we go into this because you made it a point to say I married my best friend. So is this like an amicable relationship with the outdoors, or is this one of those I'm heading out and I'll see you later, and then you come back and then you got problems to deal with?
nah, she's great, man. At the end of the day, she knows I'm gonna do what I want to do, and she wants me to, pursue what makes me happy. And part of that is what got us in this situation. We can reflect on that a little bit more after, but no, I mean, like right now she's in nursing school, so she's missing out on a lot. Usually she shed hunts with me. We're really big fans of shed hunting, and I'm going out tomorrow. I'm going to try to do a 10 to 15 mile day, and she wants to be there with me, but she's got schoolwork due. So yeah, she's got FOMO, but she's pretty supportive. She'd rather me doing this than other things. So yeah.
I'm glad when it works out that way because
Yeah.
we're lucky to have.
Yeah, I took her out hunting when I first picked it up after my dad had passed away. And she wasn't with me when I got the turkey, but she came out and sat in the blind with me, and I showed her how to do the calls and stuff. And she had a lot of fun with that. She wants to get into it. She's taken the courses, so hopefully,
Nice.
if she gets into it, we'll get her there.
How do we lead into this story, Chris? I mean, I don't want to get right into it. Normally we like to do a little more background, but I don't know. I kind of just want to get into it. What do you think?
All right, so I do have some questions.
Sure.
Before we get into it, let's talk about rock climbing real quick because you seem to be a very, very avid climber.
Yeah, I've slowed down since the brain tumor. And then also since this situation, I've been trying to I've had a real kind of struggle with risk assessment and what's worth, what risks are worth it and whatnot. I think that's normal for near-death experience. And it's just like my goals in life are kind of slowing down, and I, have this house now, and things are just more important things are taking the front seat. But yeah, I loved rock climbing. I still love it. Pretty still something I identify as and want to stay. If we have children, I want to raise them to be a climber, hunter, a few different things, so.
Is climbing like that outlet for you? Like maybe like obviously some guys or men and women, they go hunting, they go fishing. Some guys they work on their truck or whatever. Like, is that the outlet for you when you get stressed? Like that's like your, I guess your happy place, if you would. That just kind of puts your whole body and mind at ease when you're climbing.
Yeah, man. It's ironic because it really does put you puts me at ease, even though it's like fairly dangerous. But yeah, it's really methodic and really hard. And
Right.
when I don't know, but about you, Chris, but like when I got home from Iraq, I did struggle with PTSD for a while. And one of the things I did was drink a lot, and that really got me into some trouble. And so when I discovered rock climbing soon after, it really like made me think about things and gave me just a really positive outlet for my energy. And just like if if I wake up hungover, I'm not gonna be able to climb and perform the way I want to. So I might as well not drink like that. And it's taken me around the world. I did a trip to Spain, climbed to Spain for a few weeks. I've been all over the country, mostly the Northeast, some out west. Yeah, so it's definitely very cathartic, and I enjoy it a lot. That's how I met my wife. We've been together
Nice.
going on a decade now, but we've been married since 2022. So, yeah.
Nice. Congrats on that. That's a great step in life, and that's a whole nother chapter, in your journey as well.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
that's good for you.
Thanks, man.
And rock climbing, I have zero experience in. But I would imagine, you're everything is pre-calculated. Even though you're doing it real time, you can't take that next step or advance without seeing 2 or 3 steps ahead. And
Right.
so having that mindset, I'm sure with your background, you were able to pull from that from prior experience. And it's just that mental chess game that can be challenging but rewarding at the same time.
Yeah, and there's a lot of failure involved. Like the idea is to get from the ground to the top of the cliff without falling. Obviously, and my the form of climbing I liked most was called sport climbing. So it's relatively way safer than what we would call traditional climbing. Traditional climbing use widgets and nuts to stick into cracks, and then if you fall, those in theory will catch you, but they're mechanical, so they can fail. Whereas sport climbing, you have bolts pre-drilled into the wall. There's a lot less room for failure there, so a lot less
Okay.
risk. But yeah, still a lot of risk involved, obviously. But yeah, you gotta think about 2-3 steps ahead, so that when you get to that point, you're already in the groove and keep moving. So
Right.
yeah.
Okay. So it seems like you have a good amount of traveling under your belt, where the incident took place that we're going to get into soon. That was that was in a national park, a large, vast chunk of wilderness. Have you gone
Mhm.
to any other parks like this? Was that your first trip on a journey like that?
So this was my second trip out west. My first was right after my father had passed away. I went out, and it was supposed to be actually, ironically, like this trip was kind of the trip I had planned originally, post my father passing away. And I was on active duty with the Army. I had 30 days of leave approved, and I was just gonna drive until I couldn't do it. But then COVID happened. So my dad passed away March 3rd, 2020, and then shutdown happened like the end of March. And
Yeah.
so I had just left. I was literally on my way there, and I had a really great chief, my chief warrant officer for Christopher, and his dad had passed away from colon cancer too. So he really, really was super empathetic and just really a big ally for getting me
Mhm.
this experience that I wanted. And so the goal was for me to go first, pretty much to Yellowstone and explore out there. I had made it to the Badlands when the Army called me back, so I had to come back. So I stayed at the Badlands for a little while, and then I went to like the Buffalo Gap National Grasslands and stuff, and did some shed hunting in the Buffalo Gap, which is legal. And then I came home and went to Poland and all that stuff. Came home, got married, and yeah, so it was pretty much kind of the outline of that was a similar thing, except my wife's from Cincinnati, so we wanted to like make sure she had time for her friends in Ohio and stuff. So we ended up making it to South Dakota. We went to the Badlands again. I showed her the Badlands, some of my favorite spots out there. And then we went to Yellowstone, and then we ended up in the Grand Tetons. So
Yeah, I think you just checked like all of my bucket list items off. So thanks for that.
It's amazing, honestly, and the Badlands is a very like undermined national park. It does not get enough credit. It's like ironic. It's so beautiful, but also it's just nothing. It's like a wasteland, but it's something beautiful in that, and there's not a lot of people there. I mean, there's still a lot of people. It's still a national park, but there's far less people than Yellowstone. Yellowstone was a zoo. Like, it was insane, but
One day I'll get out there.
All right. So when you went
Yeah.
on this trip, was there a certain? I'm trying to fill in the backstory, and I think I got it
Yeah.
right. Was there a specific goal you had in mind when you went on this? Went on this?
It was just literally, it was our honeymoon, and we wanted to just bounce from national park to national park
Okay.
as much as we could. So we had it was like a 24-day trip. Yeah. So,
Okay.
but yeah.
All right. I guess we're at the point we can start kind of getting into it. If you want, you can start this epic story of yours wherever you want. And honestly, the floor is yours at this point.
All right, cool. Yeah. So, I'll just kind of start off with like when we left, start off that morning. How about that? So, we had spent,
Yep.
we woke up, we were day 3 in Yellowstone, and the plan was to get up super early, go look for wolves down in Lamar Valley, which is like where it's considerably easier than the rest of the park to find wolves. That didn't happen. We slept in, and then actually, which is kind of crazy, I had this really ominous feeling. I woke up, I just like opened my eyes, and I had this really crazy ominous feeling, and it just felt like total dread. I don't know. And all of a sudden, a wolf ran through our camp, and it was the craziest fucking thing. And I'm like, my wife is a heavy sleeper, so I'm like, I'm shaking her. She's blind without her glasses. I'm like, just the fucking wolf just ran through our camp, and like my dog was going bonkers. We're sleeping in a van, and like it felt like a coffin because my nose was like, I don't know, 13 inches from the roof of the van. So it was rough. But anyway,
You sit up too quick, you smash your head.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's how we started our morning, and we had breakfast, and the plan was to just drive south. So a lot of people don't understand about, and I didn't know this until going there. So Yellowstone and Grand Tetons, it's all one ecosystem. So even though they're 2 separate parks, it's all considered one greater. It's literally called the Greater Yellowstone Ecosystem, and so the South Yellowstone Gate to the North Teton Gate is only 10 miles apart. So it's not. It's like it's pretty crazy. That's something I never knew. Anyway, so we woke up that morning and we're like, all right, we're gonna go to Old Faithful. Neither of us have seen that, so we went and saw Old Faithful do her thing, blow a hole in the ground. It was cool. After that, we drove south, stopped at a gas station, and trying to figure out what we wanted to do. We finally got some service, and one thing I left out was that I'm also like kind of a hobbyist wildlife photographer, and that's kind of what really got me into this predicament. So in wildlife photography, we call something that we haven't photographed yet a lifer. And so like the first time in your life, you see this animal and you document it. And so I've never seen a great gray owl, and that was kind of my thing that I wanted to see out there. I've already seen the wolves, I've seen the bears. So my wife had done a little bit of research, and we found through the internet that we could see them on Signal Mountain. So we decided that's where we were going to go. On our way down there, we see a sow with 2 cubs, bear jam, bunch of people out running around. So we turned around. I was going to get out and try to take some pictures, but a couple things kind of deterred me from that. I got out and like looked at the crowd, and I could tell these bears are just stressed. This is a sow with 2 cubs. She's just woke up. She's struggling to keep these bears fed, and she's hungry. And I could just see the bears keep pushing out of view, and the people just keep going. And then I saw I saw a woman running with the infant in her hands, no bear spray in sight. I'm like, this is crazy. I don't know. So I get back in the car, and my wife's like, "Do you want me to just turn around again?" And I was like, "I don't need to see someone get mauled today." And so after that, we had lunch. We drove down to Signal Mountain and packed our bags. The plan was just to be out for an hour, so I didn't think it was necessary to bring our radios. I didn't bring my first aid kit, and I only brought a small bottle of water, and then I just had, my bear spray, a light hoodie on, and that was about it. And I had my chest rig on, my bino harness, so I had my binoculars with me. Bear spray was attached to that, and then I had my half-face blades fixed blade knife, that one of my favorite knives. So we go for a walk up this hill. We're staying on the concrete. One of the rules in most of the national parks is dogs are not allowed off the road. So we walked up this hill for a little bit, ran into a wildlife safari, and these people were basically looking for owls as well. And so I kind of figured, oh, maybe we are in the right place. So talked to them for a little bit. They told me that they didn't find any owls, and they also did not see any bears. So, okay. So we split up from them, continue a little bit, and my wife decides, all right, I've had enough. I'm going to go get ready to find a campground for tonight. So she went back to the van. I told her, hey, I'll set an alarm for an hour, and if I'm not back in 2, something bad happened. So I ended up, just kind of walking around in the woods, moseying around on trail, off trail, which is totally legal in Tetons. And so, yeah, like I was doing that for a while. I saw an owl pretty far distance. So I kind of pursued it. At this point, I'm about halfway up Signal Mountain, maybe, and stopped, hung out, had a snack, ended up finding Grizzly Bear scat, but it was pretty old, like a couple weeks old, so I wasn't overly alarmed. And then let's see, snapped a picture of the Tetons because I was up in this clearing, and then I continued down the trail. At that point, my alarm went off, and I was like, oh shit, all right, I should probably already be at the car by now, so I should probably start heading that way. I sent my wife a text, which I didn't have very good service, but eventually it went through. Hey, I'm on my way back now. She's, back in the van taking selfies and just hanging out with the dog. Nothing, not a care in the world. And so at this point, I kind of had a choice to make. I could get back on the human trail, beeline it to the paved road, and just walk down the road, and probably take probably another hour maybe or so, or I can just beeline it through the woods and probably be back at the car in half an hour, if that, maybe 20 minutes. At no point was I ever more than a mile away from the hardball road.
Wow.
So yeah, it's kind of crazy. I wasn't even backcountry.
Yeah, I was going to ask. I mean, just to kind of put a pause, because you're doing a great job breaking this story down. You already hit it. Obviously, you've told the story a few times.
I have, yeah.
I was going to ask what type of gear you had on in person, depending on how long you knew this hike was going to be. So you're essentially bare bones. Vinyl harness, fixed blade knife. You didn't have any bear spray, no sidearm, right?
I had bear spray.
You did have the bear spray, but no sidearm because it's a national park.
No
essentially, bare bones.
Yep.
But limited cell service, limited communications.
Yeah.
So we're kind of prefacing just a bad scenario, and unfortunately, anyway,
letting your guard down,
So roughly about a mile from the truck, you're in a national park. You're only about a mile from the truck, not really, back country, somewhere
not
remote.
from the truck. I'm just a mile from the road. So like the road snakes
Okay.
up the mountain.
Okay.
We had to leave the car down at the bottom of the mountain. So,
right.
And I was using Onyx the whole time, except I did not pre-download the area.
Mm-hmm.
So it was pretty choppy, but I still I still could generally see, okay, car's here. That I like marked my location where I parked,
Right.
and I'm here. So I could at any point tell exactly how far away it was.
Right. You had a heading at least roughly to kind of gauge. Okay.
Yeah.
I will preface this. At any point, let's say on the walk, when you're starting to head back, did you just hit a point like you've spent enough time in the woods and you've had enough prior experience with your past? Did you ever just get that feeling in your stomach where just something like the hair on the back of your neck stood up, like just something seemed off?
Yeah. The whole day seemed off. Even like when I reflected with my wife after, I was like, I woke up in a bad mood.
Okay.
Like I wanted to get the hell out of the park. I don't know what it was. I just wanted to go. And so, yeah, when I had started to go through the woods, I did start to kind of be like, okay, like remember, like you're in bear country.
Right.
There's predators here. You're mountain lions, bears, and wolves.
Sure.
Like there are predators here that would like to eat you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was definitely like, my alertness would go up and down. I'd kind of get a little too comfortable. And so essentially on my way down, that's when I was like, all right, I'm going to stop looking for owls. I was like, I just want to get out of the woods. I don't want my wife to be worried. So I was making noise. I was talking out loud and singing to myself. I was breaking branches and like, I wasn't just aimlessly walking through there, yeah. So essentially I did this for a while and I came into this, like I had gone down this steep section of the hill and there was this kind of like a boulder, or the hill kind of like just outcropped a little bit and I had to go around that barrier. And as I went around that, I noticed some grizzly tracks and I was like, oh, okay. Though I guess I couldn't definitely identify as grizzly, but I knew they were at least bear. Sure. And so I'm like, oh, okay, shit. So I keep going. And all of a sudden, like I see what I thought was a grizzly cub running away. I was like, fuck, that's a grizzly cub. And so what I ended up, like, as soon as I saw that bear, I looked down, I grabbed my bear spray, pulled it out, looked up, and what I thought was a sow was coming at me like a freight train. I looked down to get the safety off, and then all of a sudden, like I don't know why I did this. It could have either made this incident worse or better. I don't know. Like I could dissect this all day and try to figure it out, but in that moment, I decided, I ended up like trying to make myself big, and I yelled like, hey bear, and it didn't do anything. This thing wanted to put me down. So what I ended up doing was ducking and covering, right? And so I still had the bear spray in my hand and I ducked and covered down to the ground, and simultaneously this bear just collides at me and hits me in the back. And I've never been hit so hard in my life, and it was concussing. Like my head just got rattled. We go down, and the bear had hit me with such force that it actually like tackled me, and its momentum kept going, and it had to do a 180 and it came back at me. And I remember this because I didn't know that it bit me in the shoulder at that point, but that was the only time it connected with my shoulder that I can remember. But it like came running back and it sniffed me and it was just huffing and puffing. And I'm on the ground, laying down on my chest on the ground and my face just buried in the dirt. And this thing just starts ripping me to shreds. And I mean, at this point, like I just start screaming and I'm like, cursing, and this bear is picking me up, throwing me. It looked like the scene. Well, it felt like the scene from Revenant, which, I've never. I get goosebumps right now just thinking about it because like anyone ever asked me like what it felt like, I go just watch that bear scene from the Revenant because that is the closest I've ever seen to being able to describe it and physically put somebody in that position. Like you almost feel like you're there in the scene. And it's like real life. There's obviously some inaccuracies, but they're not very vocal. But it was huffing and puffing. Anyway,
I do have a question, and I
Yeah.
wasn't sure how I was going to word this, but I wrote it down anyway. I'm just going to write what I wrote down, and I wrote, if you can, when that bear made first contact, is there anything you remember, like just vividly, and I know the whole scenario is just there's no word to describe it. But is there one thing as soon as that bear made contact with you that like you just remember distinctly? Like I didn't know how to word that, but like like looking back on it now, what do you remember the most? What just absolutely you just can't even describe like that scenario? Is
like
it just the sheer force?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the like it hit me so hard that like I
Yeah.
know my head snapped back like that, and I saw white in
Okay.
my like because I braced for it, and
Yeah.
I ended up seeing white in my eyes. And
Did you ever get the safety off the bear spray? Is that like a pull tab, like a fire extinguisher? Essentially, I
yeah,
never had to use it.
it's got a thumb tab, and it's
Okay.
relatively easy to get off, but it was like, you know, that's I did practice it because leading up to this, like we knew we were going to bear country. We
Right.
actually ordered the bear spray online so that I could have it ahead of time.
Sure.
And so I did practice with it, but not enough. Like in the
Yeah.
moment when like you're like you actually got to execute what you
Right.
just trained for. You know, I did it like a dozen times,
Right.
and that just wasn't enough because when it happened, I was definitely a little slow at getting
Okay.
it off. But I did get it off. I never sprayed the bear.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so one thing I do remember is like we locked eyes too right before it hit me. Like we just
Jeez.
locked eyes, and I was like, all right, this going for a ride. And I just remember like, dude, I don't know how the fuck I'm gonna survive this.
Right.
And
And the bear was already charged. Like you haven't like turned or you just happened and it was
yeah,
already in.
yeah,
And Chris, you have a decent bear background, hunting them and everything. We're out of my comfort zone here, but from what I've learned over the years is grizzly bears move, I think, deceivingly fast, especially for the size animal they are. Like
yeah.
30 miles an hour, roughly. Like, is that accurate? Is that true?
Yep, 35 to 40.
Jesus.
Depending on certain things. Yeah, so this bear fucking it hits me, and we go down. It's picking me up, it's slamming me on the ground, it's just ripping me apart, and I'm just like in my head. And this is like the whole attack was from the moment I saw the what I thought was a cub to the end of it actually attacking me was maybe 60 to 120 seconds at most.
Wow.
So it's all happened super fast. Yeah. So anyway, like so bear's throwing me around, clawing at me. And at this point I told myself, I was like, just shut the fuck up, just shut the fuck up, just shut the fuck up. And you know, I'm burying my face in the dirt, just trying to like muffle any sound I'm making because I'm letting out like groans and gripes and just like fuck. At one point the bear had me in its mouth and it actually like lifted me up off the ground, went to slam me again. And I don't know this to be true, but I feel like this makes some sense. But it like this one particular bite hurt 10 times worse than any of the other ones. And so I remember just like yelping and like just letting out this blood curdling scream. And all of a sudden the bear just dropped me. And I was like, oh shit. Like, and then it just put its paw on my back and it went to bite the back of my head. And so again, this obviously happened really fast, but all of a sudden it bites into what I thought was my head. My hands are, you know, like this. Probably more like that, right? And I saw the bear spray. So what ended up happening was the bear actually bit down on the spray can.
Whoa.
And my hand and my arm right here. So I like kind of a gnarly scar there, and then my hand scar, which we posted a couple of days ago. And then all of a sudden, pop. And then I just heard like a thunderous run away. And then it took me a second. I was like, you're still alive. I just like did a push up and looked in the direction the bear was running, and I was like, fuck, that's where I gotta go. And so I just took off in the opposite direction. You know, I don't know, you know, hindsight's, you know, 2020, but I don't know if I should have kept going or if I should have gone the way I was going, or if I made the right choice going further in the woods. Anyway, so I run back the way I came, except more in a direct line of straight up the mountain at this point. And I say mountain, but it's like out there, mountains are mountains. Here on the East Coast, mountains are not mountains. It was more of a East Coast mountain, so it was, you know,
It was
I
like
think
a basically.
Yeah, it's basically a hill, but
The biggest elevation on Long Island is our dump. So I mean, that's what I'm dealing with. I'm at sea level. So shit, I go up 20 feet. I'm like, look at that goddamn hill we just went up.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so fucking I just run up this hill and I don't know what I was thinking, man. I'm just like, I gotta put as much distance between me and that animal.
You're just running
So
on adrenaline. I
yeah.
mean, you're just
Yeah.
you're just acting. You're not even
Yeah.
thinking. There's
Yep.
no judgment at that point.
Yeah. So I'm, jumping over down trees, crawling under down trees, just trying to put as much distance as I can. And then I stopped and I was like, all right, get it together, dude. Like I need it. So I started to do a blood sweep, which I'm not sure if you know what that is, but I'm sure Chris, you know what a blood sweep is. So obviously, like I took one look at my hand and I was like, fuck, that's gnarly. I was like, I don't think I've ever seen my body look like that. So I started looking, go down behind my legs and covered in blood. I'm like, all right. So I look, I'm like, I can't really get a good view of what's going on. I was like, all right. I like put my hand behind where the wounds were, and I could feel it like just pouring out, kind of like if you turn the faucet on to like a trickle, like that's what it felt like, just pouring out of my legs. And it was extremely hot, which like I know we're warm blooded, but like it alarmed me at how warm it was, and like
Is
that
it
I
like
could
the
feel
hamstring area, like below the glute, like hamstring area, or where
Yeah.
roughly
Yep.
was?
So pretty much between right underneath my ass cheeks and down to the back of my knees, that whole area. And there's a lot of stuff in there that like
Yeah.
somehow this bear didn't get. Like shoulda, coulda, ripped right through my artery. It didn't, thankfully. So yeah, at that point, I was like, I started to look for what gear I had left. The bear, like I had a small backpack on, and that's where my water was and stuff. The water was gone, so I had no more water. And then I had a fanny pack on also, so I looked in there and I had my phone still in my wallet. So I grabbed my phone, and somehow like I have service. Like it's not much.
Right.
So I call my wife at that point. I'm like, hey, yeah, the first initial call didn't go through. Then I started to text her like, hey, I just capitalized attacked, and that didn't go through. But then she called me back, and I picked up, and she's all like chipper, and she's like, "What's up?"
Right.
I'm like, I just got mauled by a grizzly bear. She's like, "What?" I'm like, "Chloe, I'm a jokester, so I fuck with her all the time." And she's like, "Haha, yeah, right." I'm like, "No, Chloe, this is real. Call 911. I just got mauled by a fucking grizzly bear." And she's like, then she's an EMT, so she like snapped right into that. And I was like, I think I'm dying. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm bleeding out. And she's like, okay, like, she's like, and I was just like throwing myself a pity party. And she's like, Shayne, you know what to do. Like, you've done this before. Where's your first aid kit? I'm like, I fucking left it in the van. I was so mad at myself for that. Although I only had one tourniquet. So like, even then, I ended up using 3 technically improvised tourniquets. So anyway, so
you did post pictures. If you don't mind, touch on that, because you definitely did a great job improvising.
Yeah,
we talk about
we'll
that a lot,
definitely
using what you have as a resource.
Yeah, definitely. We'll get into that. So she's telling me all these things, snapping me out of this, and I was like, look, I need to get somewhere to sit where I feel safe first, because at this point I'm still in a very like thick wooded area and on a pretty big slope. So I was like, there's some clearings up ahead where I came from. I'm gonna try to get to there. And so that's, she's like, all right, I'm calling 911. I'll call you back. So I'm running. I run for, I'm not sure how much further, but overall they said I ran about 200 yards. So I get to this point. I'm like, all right, I still have service. I think this is as good as it's going to get. The forest kind of cleared up. It was still wooded, but I could see generally in the 360 degrees. So at that point, I started taking shit off. And basically just started cutting my gear up to make tourniquet. I still have my big ass camera on me. Like that thing weighs 9 pounds alone. So that sucked. So I cut the strap off my camera. I grabbed my fanny pack, which is like from a tactical company. So like it was pretty sturdy. And I put 2 tourniquets on my left leg and 1 on my right. Unfortunately, like no matter what, like the worst wound was on my right leg, right underneath, like basically my ass cheek. And so that wound there was it was 9 centimeters long and just tore open. My fatty tissue was sticking out of it. It was pretty bad. I put the tourniquet right below that, not knowing that that was as bad as it was, but I couldn't put a tourniquet really on it or near it because that's my joint. So I put my fanny pack there, windlassed that, went to the other side, windlassed those, and just kind of sat there and just like it was so quiet and eerie. And I thought for sure a secondary attack was going to happen, that any form of rescue could potentially push the bear back onto me. So I had my knife out. I recorded a video to, my family, because I did still think I was very much going to probably die. And just wanted them to know, like, hey, like, I love you. Sorry this happened. But yeah, so I'm up there for a while, pretty much from when I got attacked to when I got extracted was a little under 2 hours. And again, like the attack happened about 400 yards from the road, and I was rescued about 900 yards from the road. I ran at like a weird diagonal angle. It was like eight, somewhere between 800 and 900 yards. I have it all plotted on X. Yeah, so I'm sitting up there, and I'm at this point like still bleeding, not as bad. Hypothermia could set in, and I could have a bear come back. So I was really like afraid of those three things. Got my wife on the phone because my service was so choppy. Any attempt to send a text or anything of like where my location is, it just wasn't going through. Like 911 dispatch kept sending me a text like click here and it'll share your location. And so every time I clicked it, it wouldn't load. So that sucked. Yeah, so I sat up there, kept my feet crossed, and just really kind of hoped, that I wouldn't die up there alone. Basically, what ended up happening was basically they told my wife to hang up with me so I could call dispatch. I would talk directly to dispatch, who was talking directly to the helicopter. And so essentially, talking to dispatch, they're like, hey, we're going to put the helicopter in the air. Let us know if you hear it. I'm like, hear it? I can see it.
Right.
Like, they're like, you can see it. I'm like, yeah, I'm not far. Like, I kept telling them, I'm like, it was actually like the whole time I was out there, I was kind of getting mad not at my wife, but I was like, I understood that a lot of things had to happen to get them out there, but I was like, what the fuck is taking so long?
Right.
I am not far from the road. If I had just ran in the right direction, I would already been rescued.
Right.
So I was getting frustrated just the situation, but the people that saved me were amazing. So I could see the helicopter, and she's like, "Oh, well, tell me what direction they need to go." I was like, "Tell them to stop." And so they stopped. They hovered there, and I was like, "Tell them to turn to the 3 o'clock and fly straight, and they're gonna fly right over me." And so that's what they did, and they did. They flew right over me. They came around this side of me, and they didn't see me yet. And unfortunately, I was in all foliage colors. I have in my first aid kit, I literally have a national, or what is it? Like a signal flag, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's this bright orange flag. So I had that, but that was in my first aid kit. So anyway,
what agency was it that ended up doing the airlift for you?
So it was the Jenny Lake Rangers. So it was the actual national park. Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Which is amazing because when you go to national parks, rescue's free because it's part of your day pass. Or if you get an annual pass, it's part of it. So it's all covered in that, which is amazing because that would have sucked. Because I do have one of these. Fortunately, my wife had it. Not the guy in the woods. My wife,
right?
Which is, it is what it is. So anyway, yeah. So they're hovering there. I told them again, turn to 3 o'clock, fly, and as like I just finished saying that, they flew a little bit, and like, oh, we see them, and I'm obviously on the ground like waving to them because they're really close at this point. And then they just hovered there for like 15 minutes. I'm like, what the fuck are they doing? Like, come get me,
Down. Down is good. Like now, down is good. Yeah.
So then I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to crawl to them. So I started low crawling And about at that point when I started low crawling, I heard someone yell my name, and I turn around, and then there's this gentleman there with a shotgun, and I don't think I've ever felt more safe in my life. And so he comes over and starts assessing me, and starts cutting all my clothes off, and starts just packing me with gauze, and that sucked. That was a very painful process. I was bleeding out from. I had 9 sites that needed surgical intervention. All of them were huge puncture wounds. And it was like every time they turned me over to like, oh, got another one here, got another one there. And like, they just basically, they were just like, all right, brace yourself, man, this is going to suck. And they're just, I forget. I think they said, fuck, I forget how much gauze they told me I used. It was obnoxious. Yeah. Oh yeah. It was insane. So anyway, they get, they field dress me there, get me ready for the airlift. They dropped the device, loaded me up, and then pulled me out of the woods. Landed in a parking lot nearby. I was stable, so I was not, an urgent patient. So they dropped me off at an ambulance. The ambulance reworked me. They pulled all my all the gauze out, repacked it because I had an hour drive to Jackson Hole. And in that period, I was also covered in bear spray this whole time. So the back of my head was just absolutely covered in bear spray. My hand, in the pictures, you'll see like orange. You see orange on my face. That's all bear spray.
Why didn't they keep you like in the, whatever the term is, like the medevac in the helicopter? You weren't considered like at risk enough for that?
Yeah, somehow. Yeah, I don't know. It sucked, but I trust their judgment,
Sure. It just seems odd.
I mean, yeah. I don't think it would have been like a maybe 15-minute helicopter ride at that. But
You never lost consciousness.
I started to get hazy. Started to go in and out, but like nothing like bad, and I told my wife that, and she's like, need to elevate your feet. And she's obviously worried sick, and the people there on scene were really great to her, and were like, look, he's breathing, he's speaking clearly, he's good. Like, he hasn't gotten hypothermia yet, and he hasn't bled out yet. So
you must have done pretty good with your makeshift tourniquets at that point.
Yeah. That's something that Chris can vouch for this, like CLS, you do a lot of that, especially back then. Tourniquets weren't as prominent of a thing, even like you said, 07, I think you deployed, or 08. So like even back then, like they still were figuring out these cat tourniquets and how useful they were and how many you should carry on you. Now individual carries 2 at minimum. I carry 3. In the woods out here, I typically carry 2. But in combat, I would carry 3 personally. So yeah,
I always like to touch on this, especially with somebody like yourself that has experience, and Chris has touched on this in the past. Can you just give the skinny version on the proper application, not like formal technique, but like if you have a cut here, where do you place a tourniquet essentially? Because I think it's so important for outdoors men and women just to know the basics.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is always changing, which is somewhat frustrating, but as we learn more, so generally speaking, above the wound, 2 to 3 inches, never on a joint, and as tight as possible. Like if you think it's tight enough, go ahead and do 3 more turns at least, because it's and in the Army they make us put it on super tight, like really, really the real way, and so you have a general idea of what it should be like. It's not meant for comfort; it's meant to save your life. So yeah.
Right. It's either bleed out or lose a limb.
Right. Yep.
Those are your choices.
Yep. And so pretty much in another way, you can, depending on where it is, like, so if it's on your arm, like say your wound's here, go above the joint there, and then you can touch I forget what they call it, but pinch your finger. Yeah. And if it stays white, then it's good. Like that's probably a good tourniquet. You're going to be uncomfortable, and also it's pretty important to record what time you actually apply the tourniquet, because that could be the difference of you actually losing your limb or not. Right. So
a lot of them come with a little Sharpie mark and a little patch on there, right?
Yeah,
like a white tab to write the time. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like these things are constantly evolving, and and practices are constantly changing.
Sure.
I used to take CPR every year, and every year it would be slightly different. You're like, the hell. Same thing with like, I've taken CLS, combat lifesaver course, 6 or 7 times in my life, and it's always different every time you go in. So yeah,
That type of stuff. And Chris, I know I've talked to you about this, and we've talked about it on the show, integrating that a little bit more with like Hunter Ed. Maybe not
yeah.
a full scale, but definitely, I don't know if they even teach any basic, first aid in Hunter's Ed.
No, they just teach like. I mean, I took it a long time ago, but they just taught us like shoot your gun for SOS like 3 times, like
Yeah. Desk pop, and we'll send help. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Thanks. That'll go over real well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
So,
found you. You go to jail, but all right, good. I'm out of the woods. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. That would be important. Yeah.
All right.
It's.
But anyway, I will let you continue. Thank you for the info, though. I do think it's important to get it out there, especially with somebody that's got training in it. And obviously, it was effective and practical.
Yeah.
For your scenario. So you're in the ambulance and you head into the hospital. I guess we can pick it up from there.
Yeah, sure. They couldn't give me a lot of pain meds because they weren't sure when I was going to go in for surgery. So they just gave me light doses of fentanyl. Barely got the edge off, honestly, but so that at that point my adrenaline had really worn down and I was like, all right, I'm feeling this. This sucks. So yeah, like we get to the hospital and my wife's in nursing school right now, so we go in and I get wheeled in and it was like they were ready for me. There was at any point I had like 12 nurses on like just working me, like going through everything. And it was really funny. I don't know why. Oh, well, probably because of my lunch, but my lunch was just fucking peppered, like one of those boarhead peppers. It was like we had a charcuterie board, like cheese and crackers and this big fucking sausage. And so I was gassy as fuck. And I'm sitting in there, dude, and I got all these beautiful women just like all over me, like in between every part of me. And I'm like, ladies, I got to fart. Please back up. And I let it rip, man. And I felt so bad. But they're like, no, thank you for telling. We don't ever get that courtesy. I'm like, all right, yeah. It was bad. It was pretty foul. At that point, I knew I knew I was going to be okay. But far from over. But I ended up calling my best friend. They also, like, something to mention is they took my camera, they took my phone, and that all went into evidence because they needed to investigate whether or not this bear had acted inappropriately or if I was out there acting inappropriately, right? Or harassing the bears or whatever. So basically, I was kind of not, but kind of being investigated as a criminal at that point. Like, it never made me feel that way, but lack of better term, that's what they were doing. And so I had no phone anymore, and so I'm call my best friend on the wife's phone, and the army buddy went to Iraq together, and he just starts roasting me right away. and like the first word, I'm like, "Hey man, you sitting down?" He's like, "Yeah, what's up, man?" I'm like, I just got mauled by a grizzly bear, and he's like, "What?" I was like,
"What's her name?"
I was like, "Murph, dude, I just fucking got mauled by a grizzly bear. I'm okay, but I'm pretty fucked up." And he just goes, "Shayne, when the fuck are you gonna stay out of the woods?" And I was just like, "Never, man, never." Like, I love it out there. Yeah. So I went into surgery later because I had a late lunch. And the surgeon kind of was, I don't think he's ever gonna see this, but he was a dick. He kind of sucked. Everyone else was amazing. Surgeon, 0 stars.
Go scratch.
Yeah. He was pretty, like, I interrupted his day, and
well, he had tea time. Your surgery really messed up his back 9.
Yeah. So he anyway, he staples me up, like, I go under. They had to put in a bunch of internal sutures, clean everything out, and I got stapled everywhere, and it was pretty grim. North American Rescue had shared my story, and all the comments were like, "Yo, that dude fucked you up, like, at least, like, he couldn't even, like, help you at all after getting mauled by a bear." Like, the staples were brutal. I hated them. All over the place. It was bad. I was only in the hospital for a day.
What?
Which was kind of, fucking crazy.
They
And
take the
because we're
staple gun from Home Depot and hooked up the compressor and
Yeah.
said you're good to go.
Yeah, dude.
Holy shit!
It was pretty. I thought for sure I'd be there for a week at
Yeah.
least. And worth mentioning, this happened on day 8 of 23 of our trip. So
Right.
yeah, that really put a damper on the trip.
Just for the risk of infections, I'm shocked they didn't keep
Yeah.
you like a little longer.
Yeah. So basically, they were like, you're all done with your antibiotics for now. It's just gonna be oral from here on out. So, yeah. So I ended up getting out, and we were just like, well, let's take our time driving home, and we'll just, obviously we're gonna change it out where we planned on going. And I was going to meet my uncle that I haven't seen in like 20 years. He lives in Arizona, and he's actually a professional taxidermist in Arizona. And so we went and hung out with him, and then we drove to Colorado, stayed there for a couple nights, hung out with a buddy of mine from the Army. And then we just bounced, either from hotel to a friend's house until we got back to Massachusetts. My wife did all the driving until we got to New York, and she was like, I can't do this anymore. And I was like, all right, I think I can handle it now. My ass was sensitive as fuck. And yeah, it was pretty grim. That was the worst drive ever.
Yeah. And there was no traffic in the tri-state area, right? So it's just cruise sailing.
We actually
nice stop and go traffic with 30 staples in your ass. Yeah, I can imagine.
It was actually we didn't get there until like midnight, so it wasn't too bad. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, we were pretty smart with how we handled traffic. I hate traffic, and I definitely wasn't trying to be stuck in traffic.
That's brutal.
Yeah, so that's the bulk of it. One thing I'd like to say, or something to clear, I guess. I've been vocal about this recently, but I haven't had a podcast or interview since I learned this information. So it actually happened. My wife's yelling at we just got a puppy.
Yes, I saw.
Yeah. Wife's yelling at the puppy right now. Probably has my slippers. We just found out a few months ago that it was not a sow and a cub. It was actually a boar courting a sow. And so I cock blocked this bear, and he was pretty upset about it. So that's why he mauled me, I guess.
And they have ID numbers. I read your post. It seems like each bear essentially has its own ID tag. Like at least
it's not each bear, but it's each bear that's captured. So there are bears within the ecosystem there that are not tagged and will never see a person. However, there are very famous bears, 399, that are well known. And something interesting about that, so you read the post, when they swabbed all the DNA and all that stuff, the 2 bears that the DNA came from was 699, which is a sow, who is 399's daughter. And then the bear that mauled me was Grizzly 794. He's a 480-pound grizzly when he was captured in 2001, I think, 2021. He's 19 years old.
Right.
And so, yeah, he's probably around 5'10" when he mauled me. So, yeah.
So, I mean, I do got to say, I mean, you remember when you were 19. If you cock block me at 19, I'm probably going to attack you too.
Yeah, definitely.
In the Bears' defense.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I do got a couple questions.
Yeah, man.
Right. So, number one, what was the battalion safety briefing like when you got back to base and Sergeant Major stood up and had to give the weekend brief about not getting attacked by bears?
Yeah, so I'm a reservist, so I don't have to deal with that.
Don't ever be the reason for the safety brief. I have learned that in my years of construction.
Yep.
Don't add to the population. Don't take away from the population.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. It's been interesting running into people. Oh, you're the bear guy. Like,
yeah.
It was pretty big news within the reserves and especially my command. I had phone calls from a 1-star general, like, wow. And he like literally was just like, what the fuck? I'm sitting there like, you avoid the brass. You don't want to hang out with the officers. Sure. So I'm just like, I was a little shell shocked. I didn't expect a phone call from the commanding general, but I was hoping I'd at least get a fucking challenge coin out of it. That didn't happen. But yeah, so yeah, that thankfully I didn't have to deal with that too much, but it is talked about, and every once in a while I'll see a new face and they'll come in, and I have the newspaper clipping on my office because I work on the same base that I drill at in the reserves as a civilian, so like I work directly for the Army, and they'll come in and people, you're the guy, and so it's kind of funny, but yeah.
From this incident, has this, I think I know the answer, but has this changed your outlook on certain things when you come to the edge as close as you did? You know, maybe not necessarily regrets on something you haven't done, but just in that moment, looking back on it, made you realize like maybe it shifted some priorities around or put new goals like in your future that you want to try and accomplish?
Hold on, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I got kicked out for a second.
All right, we still got you though.
Oh man.
Do you have him, Chris?
Yep, we got him.
Yeah, you're good,
Okay,
bud.
you can hear me?
Yep.
All right, I can't hear you, Dave.
Oh no, we were doing so good. All right, Chris, good. You fill in. We're at the
All
end
right,
anyway.
so I guess I'll ask you this. You know, this is kind of not related to that. I'm trying to get you up on the big screen here.
Okay.
There we go.
All right.
So I kind of want to circle back to photography a little bit and kind of get into that you know, once in a lifetime shot. And I'm reminded of that scene from, and I've never seen the movie, but I've seen this clip all the time, from The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. And I guess he climbs this mountain to get the one photo from Sean Penn. And there's some snow leopard out there, and he says, you know, are you going to take the shot? And he says, no, you know, some of these I like to keep for myself. Now, as a wildlife photographer, do you experience that sometimes where it's too good of a shot and you just want to enjoy it for yourself, or is that a real feeling?
That's a good question. I love sharing my experiences. That's part of why I took up wildlife photography. I do like getting close to animals and sharing that with people that may or may not be able to experience that. I've never had a moment where I saw an animal and I did not take its picture if I had a camera with me. But if I don't have my camera with me, I really relish in the moment for sure. Yeah, so I would say I haven't had that direct experience, but I have captured photos and I've been like, okay, this one's good enough. And now I'm going to watch this animal be an animal. So yeah, like there's been countless. I personally love bison. I have like a bison tattoo. That was something that is something between my father and I. He I don't know why. I never asked him why, but with his grandkids, he always wanted them to call him Tatanka, which is, you know, one of the natives word for bison. And so his grandkids did, you know, we had my brother's son, Jacob, used to call him Tonk, or Tatanka. And so I actually have a tattoo of a child pulling the leash of a bison right here on my bicep. And so I also lost my brother back in 2012. And so for me, that's my brother bringing my father into the afterlife. So when I see bison, especially in South Dakota, when I was in the Badlands, I remember catching this really beautiful picture of a bison with the hills behind him. And I stopped and I remember looking at it and going, that's perfect. And I looked at the bison, just be a bison for 15 minutes. And I was like, all right, they're dumb, you know, they're dumb animals, but they're fucking cool. And they're actually pretty incredible too. But yeah.
Good question, Chris. Nice job.
I can be a little deep sometimes.
Yeah, producer Chris, look at that coming through.
So, I mean, well, not for nothing. I'm glad you were here to tell the story. I'm glad that you made it through all this because it's an amazing story to tell. So, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to be here. Yeah, I mean, and not for nothing, like this is a hunter podcast. So, you know, some of these viewers may go out in pursuit of an animal in bear country, whether it's a bear or not. You know, the whole argument of bear spray versus guns, irrelevant. I'll never tell somebody how to defend their lives. If they feel more comfortable with a pistol, bring a pistol. I think bear spray works great. It's more the general user. It's more general user friendly. Like not a lot of people can get a perfect shot off at a bear running at 35 miles per hour. So, but it's worth, you know, mentioning some bear safety. Obviously, if you're out there hunting, you want to be quiet because you're in pursuit of an animal with higher senses than you have. With that said, just be alert, stay alive, you know. Obviously, if you can, most hunters in bear country are to get like at least 2 people. But the thing that I think saved my life also was just getting into that position to lay on the ground and protect my vitals. I can't say if the bear had not bitten into my can, I would still be here. So bear spray did save my life. Obviously, I didn't use it in a traditional sense. However, it did save my life. And that's, you know, I'm thankful for that. So it is a tool to have, and just, you know, be safe out there if you find yourself in the wilderness, you know.
All right. Well, you were humble enough to even mention, like you even trained with the bear spray.
Dave,
like
I can't hear you, Dave.
I don't know why this happens sometimes. Okay, Chris, you could fill in.
Well, I guess Dave. You know, Dave was going on to say that you trained with the bear spray, and you know, things happen. You know,
right. In the moment.
No good plan survives first contact with the enemy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't even know where to go from here. I mean, it's an amazing story, and yeah, I'm glad you were here to tell it, brother. That's a lot, and yeah.
We can start wrapping.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
I haven't told the story in a long time, actually. It got to the point where it was pretty repetitive, and I was just I was actually turning people down because I was like, look, I just want to live my life, like,
right.
Just hoping that 15 minutes of fame would dry up, and it did, and I'm kind of thankful for that because my life's kind of quieted down. But through this, another guy hit me up, so I probably will sit down with him too. And yeah, so
great. Well, we appreciate you being on, Shayne, and again, you know, thank you for coming on, telling your story. Thank you for your service. And,
thanks, man. Thank you.
And this was a great time. I don't know if everybody else can hear Dave, so I'll let Dave have a chance to, you know, say his tearful goodbyes.
No, we're good. You can wrap it up, buddy.
Something
happened on stream now.
So once again, Dave screwed up all our technical stuff. He touched something, and you know, I'm glad it was at the end, so we didn't have to deal with it. But again, Shayne, thank you for stopping by and telling your story, man. This was an amazing time, and I'm glad we could sit here and talk about it. So
yeah, thank you. You guys be safe and keep doing what you're doing.
No, you as well, brother. So for everybody that tuned in tonight, thank you. Well, real quick, Shayne, if you can, just tell everybody where they can find you on social media and follow your adventures.
Yeah, man. So Instagram is what I'm on most. I don't do like Twitter or X or anything like that, but Instagram or Facebook. I'm pretty responsive on Instagram. It's going to be no beef stew for you, N0 beef stew, number 4, and then letter U. And there's a good story about that too, but I don't like to share my beef stew. It's actually been my gamer tag on Xbox since I was like 12, but
nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap it up here. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to another episode of Pursuit Live. Shayne, thank you. Dave, thank you. And thank you for not screwing anything up till the very end. Again, this episode was brought to you by Killshot Coffee Company. Use code PL15 at checkout to save 15% on your next purchase. Check it out. It's good stuff. You're not going to be disappointed. With that, I want to thank everybody. Thank you guys again. in. We'll be back in another 2 weeks with another great episode. And if you like what's happening, stick with us. It's only going to get better from here. Have a good night, folks.